Hi guys, I'm Ember. Thanks for coming to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about how to be there for your kids when they're getting bullied. So lately I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, and I know that's really young, but what I've noticed is that they've been getting bullied more often, and a lot, which is not a lot, but like a lot for that age, I'm just like, why are they getting bullied already, And it's hard as a parent when your kid's getting bullied because you feel like you can't control it. You feel like what can you do? You can't stop it from happening, right? And there's this want to like protect your child no matter what. But I also want to talk about how to teach your children to deal with bullying, how to teach them to stand up for themselves. I want to talk about why it's important that they love themselves. I mean, that's the most important piece, in my opinion. It's about how to teach your child to love themselves. And a lot of that is by loving them yourself, obviously, and being engaged and trying to do your best. And it is so hard to be a parent. I just want to preface this with it is so hard to be a parent. I can't even. It is so hard. It sometimes feels impossible. It sometimes is impossible. They can be impossible. But I also want to talk about how when I've worked on my own trauma, how that's really affected me as a parent and how it's really changed, my parenting and how I respond to things. So when I was a child, I had a lot of yelling. I had a lot of, sexual abuse happen. I also had, my mom just would not, she would not validate me. She was very physically aggressive. She was very loud, and she was not okay with my emotions. No matter what happened, I could not have emotions. She would, yell at me or hurt me if I had emotions, or if I got angry, or if I got upset, or if I got loud. And so I saw a lot of these processes happening when I became a parent. I would yell, and I wasn't as bad as my mom, and that gave me comfort, but I knew that this was not the way I wanted to parent. And so for me, as a parent, part of getting the trauma work for me and part of healing my childhood wounds was extremely important, not just for me, but for my kids. And finding a way to put myself first and understanding that it's okay to put myself first and that I should put myself first, because only when I'm putting myself first can I truly be there for my children. And I know we say that, love yourself first. It's so, such a thing, but it is the truth. It's just a lot harder than anyone realizes when you've had a lot of trauma as a child, and then you move into being a parent without healing that childhood trauma. So if you have childhood trauma, I would definitely suggest getting into trauma therapy. And that is, neglect. That is, your mom was extremely, yelled at you all the time, controlling, manipulative. There is so much trauma. Being bullied even, anything really being bullied even, but being bullied is what my point is. I just really want to raise awareness about how childhood trauma affects you being a parent, and how healing your childhood trauma makes you a better parent. And if you don't have any motivation to go for yourself, then go for your child. And once you start looking at your childhood trauma, you're able to, as a parent, be better, respond better. And also, for me, right, I'll just give you an example. So I was yelling a lot. When my children got really loud, I got really freaked out. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't just respond in the way that I wanted to. And I realized that my inner child was freaking out that they were screaming, because what happened when they were screaming, when I was screaming when I was a child, was I got physically assaulted. And so my children screaming like that, I'm like, no, you have to be quiet, because if you're not quiet, you're going to get hurt, or I'm going to get hurt. And so what I've had to do is, when that happens as a parent, I have to seriously take a minute for myself, calm myself down, put my hands here and talk to my inner child, because my inner child does not feel safe. And when your inner child does not feel safe, your kids are not going to feel safe, and you're not going to be able to parent in the way that, with your healthy self, right? Because that's going to take over. A lot of these traumas take over your body, like the parts that are meant to protect you take over your body, because they're created to keep you from getting hurt when you were a child. And now that you're an adult, it's a completely different situation, but they're freaking out and like, no, I need to protect you. And by protecting, what was protecting you when I was a kid was keeping you quiet, right? I was supposed to be kept quiet as a child. So my protective parts would keep me quiet. So my protective parts are keeping my kids quiet, because if you're loud, then that means really bad things. And so I've really had to like understand, not just that I don't want to yell as a parent, right? Because that was, of course, known. But it was also understanding that why I'm yelling, understanding what's happening in the moment, understanding why it's happening, understanding how that comes from my childhood, and understanding how to bring compassion to that protector part that's happening, bring compassion for myself, and then I could respond better. And then I can respond better. And you're also teaching your children to take a minute, right? Like take a pause, take a deep breath, and I teach my children, talk to the part that's coming up, anger, fear, whatever. It's so helpful. So I want to get back to my original topic. I kind of got off topic there. But so my kids are going through bullying, which really sucks. And what I've had to do is not just only heal my childhood trauma, and I'm not saying you can't address this until you've healed your childhood trauma. I'm just saying that healing your childhood trauma, in my opinion, is so important to being a parent. So when you love yourself, you can teach your child how to love themselves. And that's what's important here. It's about championing. Wow, I cannot say that word. It's about strengthening them, making them feel good about themselves, and helping them understand that no matter what anyone else says, no matter what anyone else does, you're safe because you are safe in yourself, and you're safe because you can stick up for yourself, and you're safe because you're a wonderful human being. And I had a conversation with my daughter this morning, and we were pulling tarot together, and I pulled this tarot deck, and it was about strength and her own inner power, and that she's not seeing her own strength. And I was just like, you have to see your own strength. You're magnificent. You're so strong. And it's about really incorporating ways to help them find their own inner voice, find their inner power, because my mom took care of everything for me. While she was abusing me, she also would just take care of everything, and she would just make it go away if it was an outward problem. And what I didn't learn was to love myself. It was taken away sometimes, not all the time, because I definitely was bullied and she did not take that away sometimes. But my point is that I've had to learn how to do these things. I'm learning now. And what would be great is if I would have learned that when I was a child. And that's what I'm trying to teach. When you're being bullied, when you're a child, it's never okay. And we should always try to find ways to stop the actual bullying from happening. That's not what I'm saying. I think that we should definitely try to stop the bullying from happening. But I'm also saying that to make sure that your child feels safe, to make sure that your child feels seen, and to make sure that your child feels like they can handle it, is by championing them and making them feel better about themselves, making them understand that they are strong, that they have power, that they can stick up for themselves in a way that's that doesn't hurt the other person, right? And only through teaching this can we truly, our children can learn how to navigate in the world, because you can't navigate in the world and feel safe if you didn't have someone that helped you understand how to feel safe. My parents never made me feel safe. My parents taught me what the opposite of safe was. And so what has been extremely important to me, if not the most important thing besides healing myself, has been making sure that I show up for my children in a way that my parents never did. And putting myself up to the task, because my parents, they had a choice to either keep going on the way that their parents taught them or change it. And if you're changing this as a parent, I commend you, because this is the hardest thing to do when you're a parent. It's not impossible to be a parent. It is sometimes feels impossible, but I think when you're healthy and when you don't have a bunch of trauma, it's not almost impossible. You're not almost dying every day from just getting out of bed. I was so exhausted. I could not take care of my children in the way that I needed to because of this trauma. And So parenting while having trauma and having kids that trigger you all the time, it's almost impossible. And so if you're doing this, I seriously commend you. And I want to give you encouragement. I want to tell you that you can do it because you can. I want to tell you that you're worth it because you are. And to keep going and finding ways to love yourself, and then finding out how to love yourself so that you can teach your children how to love themselves. Because that, I think if I could teach my child anything, it would be to love themselves. That's literally, if I could teach anything, if I ever have any goals, that will be it. And so I really hope you guys like my video. Like and subscribe if you can, and I will see you guys next time.